I've got in my hand a piece of paper, and it says, College Football Playoff rigged? These are questions that you were giving me. A lot of you hit me like this yesterday, and I didn't know what you were talking about at first, but then I found out. So Big 12 Media Days was happening out in Las Vegas, and they had the College Football Playoff Executive Director, Rich Clark, out there. And sometimes they do this. They'll bring officials, heads of officiating, they'll bring College Football Playoff people, and they'll have their own little press conference, and you get to ask them questions. So Rich Clark is up there. He's the CFP Executive Director, and he's taking questions about the expanded playoff because we're going to have 12 teams. And what does that mean, friends? That means we're going to have, 8 more than we normally have. We're going to have first-round buys, but also we're going to have first-round games on campus. We've never had that before. We've never had a team in college have a home playoff game. We're going to have 4 of those this year. So Rich Clark gets asked the question by, I think, Barry Trammell. And the question was basically, hey, what does a campus need to have in order to be ready to host a college football playoff game? Very fair question by Barry. And I thought Rich Clark gave, in my opinion, a pretty reasonable response. I'm going to let you listen to the response, but I don't think that it was received the way that Rich Clark and company thought it was going to be received.
There's a lot of factors that are going to go into this. Weather is going to be a factor that they're going to have to consider because this game is going to be later in the year, in the winter than they normally were. Hotels are a factor. Do they have the level of hotel that would be expected for a playoff game, and do they have the availability when we need it, right? Practice space, those are the kinds of things that people need to keep in mind. But also, I mean, everything from ticket sales to managing how we distribute the tickets, all those kinds of things have to come into play.
We got about 7 billion people on this planet. Among the last of them to ever be accused of carrying water for the college football playoff is me, because I wish it didn't even exist. I want to state that as a preface so that you'll understand when I tell you I listened to that and got nothing from it, I really mean I listened to that and just thought the guy gave a pretty reasoned answer. Most of you didn't. By the dozens and dozens and dozens, probably into a couple of hundred of you, hit me up and said, this thing is rigged. I didn't even know what you were talking about. So then I looked at what he said, and then I said, hold up, is this a thing? Are people latching onto this? Yes, by the thousands and thousands. It turns out publicly a lot of you took that to mean they're already chumming the water, they're already baiting the trap so that they can screw me out of a home playoff game and give it to them. Who is them? I don't even know yet. But a lot of you took that to mean they are going ahead and they're putting weather or inability to sell tickets properly or inability to host multiple teams practicing or having adequate hotel space as a reason down the road to yank a home playoff game off of your plate and put it onto the plate of maybe an SEC team or a Big Ten team. And you know what I decided to do today? I decided to go along with it. I listened to that, and I just thought the guy gave an answer about logistics. It didn't occur to you, I don't think, that he said, this is just what it takes to host a home playoff game. It's not that he said, this is what you're going to have, and if you don't have it, we're yanking it from you. In fact, in an extended quote, he went on to say, no, we've got a committee that will actually be on the ground helping these teams the moment they find out they have a home playoff game. But you know what? That's not fun. That's not fun, and it's too corporate of me to defend these people. So you know what? Let's do it. Maybe there's something to this. We're out of tinfoil, but if I had it here tonight, I'd put on my hat, and I would believe right along with you guys that the fix is in. And if the fix is in, why are you surprised? And for non-college football fans, this may sound insane, because non-college football fans would listen to Rich Clark there and they'd say, well, you got to be able to sell tickets? Of course you do. Well, you got to have proper practice space and hotel accommodations? Well, of course you do. Like, who would think otherwise? You don't want to talk to these people like that. You are applying logic to an illogical situation. Logic is absent totally in college football decision-making to begin with, so take your logic elsewhere. This is the world of the illogical. And in the world of the illogical, there are conspiracies in July that the yet-to-be-seen playoff structure and selection process is going to screw a team. out there that you happen to pull for. You know what? I sat here and I didn't have a drum. So I banged on this desk and I said, this thing's not going to be what you think it's going to be. A lot of you wanted college football playoff expansion. I didn't. You got your way. And I told you there's no world where you get the playoff you want. A lot of you wanted expansion because you wanted an honest-to-God better shot at inclusion. You thought that if you tried hard and you earned your way in, the old model would have boxed you out, but the new model was going to have a seat at the table for you. It's not to the degree that you think it is. The same folks who were screwing you out of being in the 4-team playoff field built the 12-team playoff field. So why are you shocked and surprised and shaken to the core, apparently, according to some of you, that they may jilt you out of a first-round playoff game? Hey, in this case, be glad you're in the playoff, firstly. Secondly, some people out there, bless your hearts, you still believe this thing's about inclusion and access, and it's not. It's not. It's about inclusion. It's about including more of the same. That's all it's about. It's all it was ever going to be about. We did a scenario the other day. Someone said, what if we have 2 undefeated G5 teams in the playoff this year? I said, good luck picking which one's going to make it. Both of them aren't making it. And I said, Josh, there are 12 teams in the field now. Certainly, if we have 2 undefeated G5s, I said, shh, you're applying logic. There is not room for that here. That's not what this thing was built for. This thing was built to house more of the big boys. Now, you know me. I don't really even care about that because my world doesn't revolve around the playoff, but a lot of you enjoy the playoff more than you enjoy the regular season. And for you guys, I think you'll be disappointed ultimately in this product down the road. But to those of you who want to host a playoff game, I would say listen to Rich Clark and prepare for it. If you're a smaller community, if you're a smaller program, and you look around and you say, wow, based on what he said, if we had a home playoff game next week, we wouldn't be ready. Well, you don't have one next week. You may not have one this year. You may have one next year. You may have one 3 years from now. Develop the ability, have a plan in place, and be ready for it. Prepare for it. That's the best advice I can give you. And by the way, you mean this may be a factor? If it's 50-50, ticket sales, weather, that may be a factor? Yeah, it may be a factor. Anyone shocked by this, I am shocked at. Because these are the folks who have always run this thing. Why would you expect any different?